Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Private Story. I know it's been a while. I have been going through the pains of being a mid-20s woman. I don't know. I am trying to figure out my way still, and I guess I would love to share this part of my story about why I moved from California back to Maryland and then back to California again. So I lived with a girl who I adored, and I saw her as I have watched so many powerful women with goals and wanting to move places, wanting to do things, who have gotten into relationships and have changed their plans because of their partners. So watching that throughout my friendships, watching that with my mother, watching that with peers and stuff like that, it's hard to really go through this world and be single when everybody else around you, kind of changes their plans and changes who they are to be with somebody else. And it's not to say that those relationships aren't good and their partners aren't good or anything like that. I don't want to take away from love, because I am all about love. Sometimes I may come off as a little bit of a hater. It's just because I'm still learning my way through love. So everybody that really knows me, I'm very outspoken. I've always been. Okay, I'm sorry, momentary pause. My roommate came in and wanted me to check her outfit. Okay, but anyways, so upon leaving Maryland, I had decided that it was time for me to go home and be with my family. But in the back of my mind, I was really hoping to go home and be in one of those Hallmark relationships, come home, big city girl comes home, reconnects with a man from back home and falls in love and all this stuff. That's what I wanted. I wanted to be like my family. My brother and sister have both already had kids. Both already have kids, and my sister is younger than me. So, you always feel a little behind in life in that area. But I know I've always wanted more. But I really thought, if I turn it down a little bit, I go back to my hometown, I find love, I do the picket fence thing, and I don't have to worry about being alone in this world. I don't have to worry about I'll have a partner and I can maybe be more financially stable. I didn't see love as finding love. It was more finding something, because I just didn't want to be alone. And I'm going to be honest with you, I have been, I'm 25. I've been, having sex and dating boys since I was 13. And, oops, got a big old mess on that. Since I was 13. So, but I don't think I've ever been in love, because I don't think I know how to love. Bell Hooks talks about love being a nurturing of someone's spirit. And I think I've tried to nurture the wrong people's spirits, like many of us have. Because, we're taught, especially as women, that it's just better to not be alone. It's better. And I'm sure men feel the same way, that they feel like they have to get into relationships. But I'm speaking from my woman's point of view. But, so upon going home, getting back, I was I'm going to be the perfect, sister. I'm going to take care of my niece. I'm going to take care of the family. I'm going to build a deck. I'm going to do all this stuff. I'm going to go home and I'm going to be the savior. I have a purpose in Maryland. There was no more purpose for me in California, is what I felt. And I also was just lazy. I was I could just go home and live for free and I could always come back, and those were my thoughts. But I knew that I was leaving a very important piece of myself in California, and that was my independence. When I went home, I wasn't making as much money. I got COVID, and honestly, I got a little sad. It was colder over there, and then around October, I reconnected with a guy I knew from high school. I've known him for 10 years. I didn't really know him much anymore, but I always knew he was such a sweet boy. He, was kind. I always remember him just being super kind, and he was really good at soccer, and we played on the same indoor team, and we reconnected because I was on Tinder in my hometown, and I had set the radius a little bit, and he popped up, and I was like, oh my gosh, he's been in the gym, he looks good, wow, he really grew up, because he was a really tiny boy, and he had really grown into a man. And I was like, oh wow. So we met up, we talked, we had coffee, and it just seemed like it was going really well. But here's the thing, gosh darn it, everybody, if a man sends you their location 3 days into talking to you, I gotta be honest with you, something's wrong with him. And I didn't realize at the time, because I just wanted to be in love. I literally picked the worst person to try and be in love with. So I don't like to say, even though he ended up becoming my boyfriend, I don't like to say that it was a relationship for me, because it was very one-sided, and I spent most of the time just trying to get him to be someone he wasn't. He was very self-conscious, he was always in the gym, that's all he cared about. He would spend 3 hours at the gym. He was living at home with his parents. He was working as a soccer coach, and he had gotten out of a really bad relationship, well, is what he said, a really bad relationship or whatever, and that had sent him to the hospital, blah blah blah, he was really depressed, moved back in with his parents, had to move out of the house with her, didn't have his cat. And I was under the impression he made it seem like he was over her, he didn't really talk about her too much, he just talked about his cat. And so I didn't think that I had really much to worry about, when I definitely attract emotionally unavailable men. So gonna be honest with you, we ended up having a lot of sex, and I ended up very off rip, very, very off rip. That's what they say, man, you gotta be careful with your energy, because any woman is subject, not any woman, because there are women out there that can, hold their ground, but man, having sex with somebody when they're not good for you, and having it constantly, I swear to God, is somehow terrible for your mental health. Ugh, this thing is ruining my hair. Oh yeah, got the haircut. I know I've been putting on this foundation for a while. I have been struggling with trying to make my skin look flawless, because I need different foundation. But anyways, so this man was like coming over a lot, like, but there were red flags. Like one day he came over to my house and like didn't bring me food, and he brought his own food and like didn't offer to bring me any, or like didn't say like he was gonna bring me any or anything like that, which I thought was annoying, because I'm like, I had cooked for this man, you know, he stayed at my house, like, you know, I was, you know, very sweet, like, I would drive up to, you know, stay at his parents' house, even though, like, I really didn't, I felt like I was too old to go to somebody's parents' house, or whatever. But, you know, I was trying, like, I was going through my own emotional stuff, like, moving back home, trying to rebuild my relationship with my sister, which was failing, because instead of trying to get to know her, I was busy trying to get to know a man. And that was where my biggest thing. And I think that's the reason why Maryland didn't work out for me, because I went for the wrong reasons. I went back home for the wrong reasons. Like, I can say I went back home to be with my family, but I had an ulterior motive. You know, I did want to be with my family, but I also thought, like, I can just shrink myself. I can shrink myself. I can fit a box. I can fit a mold. I can just take care of somebody. I've always taken care of somebody. I don't know love, but I know nurturing. I know how to nurture somebody. I just felt like maybe if I just take care of someone enough, they won't want to leave me. And I've done that in my friendships too. Lost a lot of friends that I've done way too much for and didn't get that type of emotional connection or love in return. And like, honestly, like, I'm over the days of people not being able to talk about their emotions. But anyways, back to the guy. So it was getting increasingly like more toxic. We did not have the same views. He did not get vaccinated, even though his dad was really, really like sick. And his like thing was like, oh, I know more about it. I'm like, okay, so like, all right. So like I said, this man had completely different views than me, and I just wanted a man so bad. I was stigmatized. I was like, you know, I can change him. Like, you know, enough time with me, he might change his ways, or maybe I'll just get with it. And honestly, I should have left this man when he told me. This is not something I'm proud of. Gotta be honest with you. Like, probably one of my darkest things was, he literally told me that like Hitler did a lot for Germany, and I was flabbergasted. But I was so engulfed in him. Like, I watched his location. Like, he stopped coming over. Like, but he would be at his house all day. Like, he drove me crazy. There's a song that came out. It was like that. And like the lyric is like, you bitch, you make me anxious. Like, you're not like, you don't make me sad, like you make me anxious. Like, you make me like, he made me feel anxious. Like, I constantly, like, even though he wasn't doing anything, he made it seem like he was. And he would just give excuses, like only be able to come to stop by my house for an hour. Like, and I'm going through one of the most emotional periods of my life. Me and my sister are having a falling out. It's December. Like, you know, he was supposed to come over for Thanksgiving, and I was supposed to go over to his house. He came over for Thanksgiving, and I got on birth control for him. Freaking ruined me. I got into the most depressive state of my life. I wanted to kill myself. And then right before I decided to commit myself to the hospital, because I had gotten arrested for some family drama, which everything's fine now, but I was sitting there, and like, he just like would tell me, he would text me, would tell me he would do these things, and just wouldn't. And then like, I guess he like broke his phone, and I didn't know, and like, I freaked out. Like, I was having like actual physical like reaction to this. Like, I was just so anxious. I was taking like hot baths like 2-3 times a day just to try to I think about it as one of the most, like, I go through them a lot during the winter time sometimes, but man, that was the most like anxious I had really felt. And being on my medication for like my bipolar and my borderline personality disorder, I had never felt so small. And I just didn't want to be there, man. I just didn't want to do it anymore. I was tired. I really, like, all this man gave me was sex. That's all he gave me. That's the only thing he could give me. He was not over his ex. And the last straw was like, me and him are on the phone, like, talking about our relationship and what's going on with us. And he's like, oh, I'm on my way to my ex's house to see my cat. And I was like, what? Like, it's like late, like, you should be, like, he should be with me, like, you should be stopping to see me. He was like, well, she's moving away and I'm just gonna stop by over there. And he stopped over there, and he was there for 3 hours. and he said he was gonna call me and said all this stuff, and he never did. So I don't know, like I had just lost it. I just lost it. I feel like I lost my mind. Like you know, a lot of men, they see a really strong, independent woman, and they want to make a muck of all that. They want to make you feel low. Like, I genuinely like thought like I could make it work. I can make it work with a guy who's probably freaking racist, man. Like, I don't know. Like, I think I felt like guilt is a useless emotion, but you got to go through it when you learn that when you hate yourself. I hated myself, but I even in the psych ward, he's all I could think about. Does he still want to be with me after this? Like, he had literally infiltrated my mind, and I couldn't even get past that. But finally, something gave, and he said he would call me, like, while I was at the psych ward. He never did. Like, wouldn't really answer my calls, like, and then we would talk, and, like, you know, I mean, he told me he loved me, like, I think, like, 3 days in, we were, like, and this only lasted for, like, 3 months, and I knew in my heart that I was supposed to end things, like, forever ago. It should have just been a booty call, but I think we both just longed for something that we were both willing to give up who we were, because this was not who he was. He wanted to be with his ex. And I told him, I said, I wish you would have just said that. You know, like, we could have just had sex and moved on with our lives. Like, you didn't have to, like, make it seem like you were over her and you were really ready for something, like, because he wasn't. And it wasn't until, you know, a month or two in that he was just like, I don't know, he just got worse and worse. Like, my friends were really worried. Like, I was going up there to see him. I mean, not him, sorry. I was going up there to see them, but I was, like, crying, drinking a lot, texting him. Like, I just wanted to do anything to get his attention. Like, I came and even saw, like, one of his soccer games, like, left my friend's house and drove over there, like, to watch it and stuff, and he acted really weird towards me, like, didn't want to get lunch with me, like, just so many things. And it just made me feel like, you know, he was withholding, like, his love for me, like, he was punishing me, like, and what it wasn't love, but he was withholding his attention, his time. So, but like I said, luckily, like, you know, I said my piece. I sent him a really long message. Like, I said my piece. And then finally, like, we stopped talking. Like, finally. And, like, I would like to thank God and the universe that I didn't get pregnant. And that I did get on birth control during that time. I've since gotten off. Because it was, gosh, that it ruined me. It ruined me. I could my emotions. It just couldn't. I think it really interacted with, like, my medicine and stuff. So, like, it really just couldn't. I just couldn't do it. But yeah. And then after that, you know, I met another dude. Did the same thing. I've already talked about him. You know, not over his ex. Like, he was the one that brought his ex to the gym, like, right after he had broken things off with me, you know, and I called him there, and there was just, like, I have struggled, even though I've been alone, I've struggled to be alone. I love my solitude, but it's hard watching the people around you get in and out of relationships, and I feel like I've never had that. But I've also realized that I cannot go through life shifting and shaping myself to be somebody I'm not, because I want to be with somebody. I was willing to look past, like, some really poor behaviors. This man didn't brush his teeth. That man didn't brush his teeth. He didn't eat vegetables. Like, he was a child. I thought he had grown up into a man, but no, he was just a grown child who hadn't worked on himself. And I, like, think that I can, like, take care of men when, like, and that's what I did this whole last summer before coming back to California. I didn't think California was a possibility until one of my friends, like, reached out to me. And I was like, man, my time is done here. You know, I have, like, I thought that it was going to be something magical, something different. But, like, sometimes, like, home is not where you thought it was. And that didn't feel like home to me. Home is wherever I am, and, like, I got to live with my mother, and I got to have a beautiful experience with her and, like, rebuild our relationship. But also it was really detrimental to me because I felt like I had taken some steps back. But I honestly learned a lot about myself during that time. I'm thankful to be back in California. I'm still trying to figure out who I am, you know, getting older, with all the stuff going on in the world, and I'm just trying to figure out how I can bring justice to things. And I have, like, shrunk myself to the point to do things that I'm not proud of. And I do this in my friendships, I do this in my work environments. I just want to be liked so much, and I thought I was over that. You know, we think we get over these hills, we think that, like, we have changed, and then, like, I got older and I was like, oh my gosh, like, there are still things that are still here from when I was younger. You know, I struggle with a big feeling of inadequacy. You know, like, I don't deserve to have a good life. And I know a lot of people feel that way, especially with things that are going on in the world. Free Palestine. Ceasefire now. Stop the genocide. But for real, life is crazy, and, like, my life has definitely been lacking love from me. Like, I just, like, have been trying so hard to, like, not be here, and I have to start showing up for my life, or I'm gonna get run by all this outside stuff. Like, I'm gonna get run by, like, the need to, like, have expensive things, the need to, like, always look nice, the need to please everybody, the need for that. And, like, I don't want that to be my life. It's okay to, like, want to make people feel good inside, but it's another thing to do that so you desperately feel good inside. I thought maybe if I just, like, do everything for someone, they won't want to leave me. But you can do everything right, and you're still not enough. And honestly, all the friendships and stuff that I've lost, I just wasn't enough. They wanted something different, and that's okay. That's okay. I wasn't enough in those situations for them, and that's cool. You know, but I'm enough for me. You know, I had to make some hard decisions because there were relationships in my life that were not suiting me anymore. And, you know, and, like, friends broke up with me for the same reason. And I'm like, you know, I don't want to hinder anyone's growth. So if you do not think that I'm a good enough person to be in your life, then okay. Like, I'm not really about changing anyone's. Once someone has a story of who you are in their head, it's hard to change it, and people are gonna live with their narratives. So you just kind of gotta let people be people, and you have to keep it moving. And I find it hard to do that. And I want to stop giving my energy to the wrong people and to the wrong things. So I myself am trying to change, actively trying to change every day. Whether it's like, you know, trying to read, trying to write, spend time with my roommates, like spend time with my cat. You know, I wish I got outside more, but you know, I mean, anybody that's like lasted this long, like through this, like thank you. Because like, I don't know, this is an important part of my life. This was this move. The moves the past 3 years have been insane. Excuse me. I've learned a lot about myself, but I want to be present for the next 3 years, my next 30 years, my next, you know, my next 50 years. I want to be present with what's going on in the world and everything, and be here. And I'm still learning how to do that. So anybody else that's still learning how to do that, you know, kudos to you for trying. All we can do is try, and, you know, and then turn it into actions. But yeah, thank you for listening. I know this has kind of been long and a little drawn out, but at the end of the day, like, this is super important to me to like just talk. You know, we're just having a conversation. We're just talking. Oh my gosh, my hair. Yeah, I got my hair done also too. I'm trying to get it to look right. I gotta go to work soon. But yeah, I'm gonna play with it. But yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna wear today, but we'll figure it out. But yeah, thank you so much, everybody, for like listening and like being a part of this, and like, you know, just being here. So thank you so much. I hope you have a really beautiful day, and yeah, thank you.